from my radical sabbatical to Brazil. I was there for 3 months, and that is actually me in a bikini on a mud beach not that long ago. And my goal tonight is if anybody out there feels stuck and has ever dreamed of doing something like this, not necessarily the bikini and the mud beach, but that you feel inspired by my experience. So this was my life about a year ago. I was in a cubicle at NPR, and I'd been there for about 5 years. And I reached a point where I just felt stuck and like I wasn't growing in my job, and I very much wanted to make a change. And I was dreaming about this radical sabbatical, but I was also afraid of just quitting my job and getting on a plane. And specifically, I was afraid about money, of spending down my meager savings on a trip and coming back with no job, which is essentially what I ended up doing. But what helped me to actually pull the trigger and go was meeting people right here in the Twin Cities who had done the thing that I was afraid to do. And through meeting this tribe of people, I got some really good advice, including the fact that travel doesn't necessarily have to be super expensive. There's a lot of places in the world where your dollar can take you really far. But what ends up costing a lot of money is paying all the overhead on your life back here while you're away. So that was really helpful, and I put that in my back pocket when this past spring I found out that my lease wasn't being renewed and I had to move out. And about a month before that happened, I had been laid off from my job at NPR and was getting severance. And while these things happened to me, I didn't choose them, and they really freaked me out, I could see that the opportunity was opening for me to leave. So by August 1st, I was on a plane flying on a Delta SkyMiles rewards ticket to Brazil. So I thought a lot about where to go on my career break, and ultimately decided on Brazil because I have a passion for dance. And there's a dance workshop that I had wanted to do in Salvador for many, many years. And I thought that that would be a good way to provide some structure for the trip and to get started. But the bigger point I want to make is I didn't put pressure on my career break to figure out my future career goals. I simply wanted a break from my life in Minnesota and to go and experience joy again. And that's what I was able to do in Brazil. So once I started traveling and got out in the world, I started meeting people like this, a mix of expats and entrepreneurs who seem to have created this incredible freedom in their lives to just travel and live and work around the world, and they weren't asking anybody for permission to do that. And I didn't quite understand how they made their lives work, and I came to think of them as global unicorns. And this is very much like me. When I don't understand something, I start studying it, and I started studying these people. And one example of what I'm talking about is actually my dance teacher, Rosangela Silvestre, who used to have a stable job teaching at a university in Brazil, but found that too stultifying. And now she travels all around the world about 9 months out of the year, teaching a dance technique that she created. So as I looked at the lives of people like Rosangela, I wondered, what are their secrets? How do they have this freedom? And I started to notice some patterns. And one thing a lot of these people had in common is that they had multiple income streams, and those were flexible streams, often through property ownership. This is a guy I met through Airbnb. He's from France, and he sold all of his belongings, bought a boat, was living on the boat in Brazil, and renting out rooms to people like me through Airbnb. I also noticed that the global unicorns had mobile skills. I met a lot of people who were teaching English, teaching yoga, dance, doing Reiki, taking things that they had mastered in their home country and then taking those skills out into the world and figuring out how to support themselves doing that thing. I also noticed that the global unicorns were entrepreneurial and adventurous, and they were willing to try new things. This was a couple that moved to Brazil from the UK, and they were running an Airbnb bed and breakfast, which was something they'd never done before. He was a preschool teacher, but they were making it work. So as I took in all these examples and encounters, I realized that I had gone into the trip thinking that real life is about living in one place, it's about having a job in a particular building in a city, and that travel is about adventure and mobility and new experiences. But the people I was meeting really disrupted those assumptions, because here they were traveling and trying out new careers and learning new languages. So all of that really inspired me. And now that I'm back in Minnesota, I've just been back literally literally 3 weeks, and I'm unemployed and rapidly becoming a professional house sitter because I don't have a place to live. I am really inspired by all these global unicorns and have essentially come to the conclusion that I want to be one too. And I don't have a boat or a dance technique, but I'm excited to figure out how to create this global unicorn life. So here's to the unicorns. Thank you.